Hi, my name's Jamie Pitchforth. I'm Head of Strategic Business at Juniper here in the UK. Today I'm in conversation with Stuart Brown, the Chief Digital Officer from the University of Reading. Hi, Stuart.
Hi, Jamie.
So, the proliferation of mobile devices, digital technology in general has driven a demand from students now where they're always connected. The hunger for network resources has never been as it is today. How are you coping with that here in the university?
It's a massive challenge, Jamie. So we've always known that the secret to that is to make sure we've got a really, really strong, reliable network. So we took a view a couple of years ago to make sure what's the number one thing that they're really worried about, and that's Wi-Fi connectivity. So we took the view of could we replace it with a like-for-like solution, or should we look at something slightly different that gave us some advantage over some of the other competition out there for students to come and study here. We know we need to get them connected as soon as we possibly can the minute they step forth on campus, and it's got to be the most simple process you can possibly imagine for them to do that. And that's the first impression they get at the university, so it's really important we get that right.
No, absolutely. So one of my favourite subjects, the selection criteria. We came out on top. You've chosen Juniper Mist as your strategic technology, really for the next 5 to 10 years. What was the process you undertook?
It was a fairly straightforward process insofar as we could either replace like for like, or we could replace with something that was going to enable us to digitally transform. The like for like option is always easier on a business case. But in this situation, we had an opportunity to really transform the capability of Wi-Fi across the network. And we saw something new and innovative in the Juniper Mist solution. It wasn't also from a sales pitch. It was from my own team who spoke to me and said, look at this technology. Can we do a proof of concept? We need to see if it A, works, but B, does it actually do what it says on the tin? And so we ran a proof of concept in our library using Juniper Mist. Mm-hmm. The good news was it works, and as far as the executive board here are concerned, it has to work. Wireless, Wi-Fi is the number one service we need to be running properly. It worked. And so all the other value-added piece is an added bonus to that decision-making. Mm-hmm. And so it was a very easy answer in the end to choose Juniper Mist.
And now students are arriving with 3, 4, 5, 6, and probably some even more devices. The ability for you guys as IT to onboard those devices as seamlessly as possible is absolutely essential. How's that changed from an overhead on IT? You know, once upon a time, you were having to onboard all of those devices together, and now you provide that kind of self-service where they can sit in the home-from-home experience where they can connect their own devices, build their own networks within your network.
It's just a huge headache. Welcome week would be an army of people making sure we've got students who snake around the campus, making sure they can connect. And it was a painful experience for both the student and for us to try and support them. So now, with self-service and just getting up and running on our Edge Your Own Wi-Fi solution, they can just do that. We've also got that in halls of residence as well, so that they can just connect via anything they want, whether it's their mobiles, their Xboxes. Again, we couldn't support that in the past, but now they can do that fairly seamlessly. And certainly the campus experience, their first impression, is much improved. The second point, I think, is around if there are any problems. And of course, there will be some every now and then. A device might be too old, their operating system is a little bit old on their old mobile device. Then we can look at that really quickly now and see where the issue is. And we can, instead of being the third line guys, the more experienced guys, and there's not many of them, we can throw that support to the first line guys who can see that in real time, what the issues are, and then advise that student what action they can take to get online.
So I know you invested in a full suite of the Mist subscriptions. So you have engagement, experience, you have Marvis, you have location services, and you have analytics. So a platform to really drive a digital strategy. On the subject specifically of location services, what are the key use cases that you see within the university for that technology?
So student well-being is so important to us. And we've never really been able to see in real time whether a student is suffering a little bit with their studies, falling behind a little bit in real time on a dashboard. using the technology we have with location services and Juniper Mist, we can start to plug into those benefits. We can start to see when a student's attended a lecture or a seminar. We can see when they've been through a turnstile in the library. And we can see, as they've moved around campus, what type of clubs and societies perhaps they might have signed up to. You get an overall view of that student and that student's experience and well-being. And if there is anything that we need to be aware of in our student services department because of that data, then those interactions can take place for a positive outcome.
So the university's vision for students is around delivering excellent experience. So technology innovation and the network architecture in general has evolved. How are you now using the technology to excel and deliver that great student experience?
So, of course, the great student experience is just getting connectivity and making sure that when they're hopping from building to building, they're not losing that connectivity. We've noticed since COVID, coming back to campus, the demand on the network is super high. So it's really good that we've got a network that's clever and it can actually go out there and look and load balance in a much better way than we used to be able to do. So when we have got peaks in our library for study space or during exam periods, there is that ability for that network balance to be going on using that AI engine built into Marvis. And that's working really well. The other thing we're looking at doing in terms of footfall on campus is actually rather than IT saying, look, we've got this wonderful tool that will enable you to do so much. We've actually got the business asking us questions now. So our estates department is asking us, we really need to know what the real-time occupation of our buildings are, because we need to grow and we haven't got the capital necessary to build new buildings on this great campus. So we need to use what we've got already, but we need to see in real time who's occupying the buildings or not. So again, using the technology we've invested in with the Bluetooth beaconing and BLE technologies, we are able to see in real time students, staff moving around buildings, and we've got a single source of truth and that real data-driven.
And it's that data that's the real key here. So what's the intention in terms of using that data to drive strategy and investment? What are the key outcomes that you see that will come from it?
I can see us just using the campus better. I mean, we've got to grow. The sector is financially challenging, I guess, at the moment. We're not allowed to increase student fees in line with inflation, and yet inflation is increasing, as we know. So how do we make use of our campus in the best way possible? And that's about, rather than someone walking around with a clipboard and taking a snapshot in time of the occupation of our buildings, we can see it anytime. And I can take that data, or the Director of Estates can take that data to our exec board. We can make some much better data-driven decision-making as a result.
We're seeing some of the other universities using that data to understand footfall and occupancy, so that the plan in their longer terms is to integrate the system using the APIs with the BMS systems, so whether that be a Honeywell or a Schneider. But the idea being is that when you understand occupancy, you can use the engagement engines to steer traffic into primary spaces, so that those secondary spaces, we can now turn off the lights if there's nobody in the room, or in the middle of the summer like we are today, where it's very warm, turn down the air conditioning, or in the winter, turn down the heating, but translating that into kilowatts and kilowatts into money, and ultimately, money into long-term savings, which is fantastic. But it's there how that fits into the sustainability profile and program and the carbon reduction that is where I think the real winner will be for you guys as we drive forward.
Absolutely agree with you. I mean, sustainability is one of our core pillars of the university strategy. We want to be probably the most sustainable university. I know a lot of other universities would like that badge too, but we are really serious about climate change. Our climate stripes come from Reading, and anything, as you say, that will allow us to be more sustainable, both financially and environmentally, let's be honest, by using the technology, digital technology to inform us, we'll take advantage of that. So I agree with you. I mean, it could be a question where some of our students or staff believe that there is someone in the library at 2:00 in the morning. The reality is, are they really there at 2:00 in the morning? And this is the kind of things we can do to then turn lights off, save on electricity, and have much more of a smart campus.
So talking of smart AI, artificial intelligence, Have you seen, like many of our other customers, quite big reductions in the number of help desk tickets that are coming in from students that are unable to connect or having problems with their connectivity? Have you seen a benefit?
We have, and we've had a shift left as well. So rather than the third line, more kind of experienced guys doing the very straightforward tickets that they would have done before, that's now being done by the first line guys. So there's many more of those, and I've got the third line guys then doing lots of the other value add piece. So they've done lots of the mapping, for example, that's required for the Bluetooth beacons to see as you walk around the buildings, that real-time occupancy, that has to be done with maps.
Yeah.
And they've had the time to do that kind of work and further implementations around the campus that we would not have been able to do because they would have been doing the support.
So the solution you've chosen is very much microservices cloud architecture. So we're moving away from traditional on-premise where you are responsible for operations and patching and all of those other software elements to a world of SaaS where it's now a service. How has that made a difference to you?
So one of our core digital principles is cloud first. I guess finding a cloud first Wi-Fi solution is quite a challenge. But with Juniper Mist, you have that capability. And the joy of it is particularly around cybersecurity is instead of my guys doing a lot of the preparation for the upgrades of the controllers, for the upgrades to the access points, that's all done with a click of a button now. It's so much quicker for the guys to do their work and much more efficient. So it's brilliant in that respect.
Brilliant. I'd like to say a huge thank you to you, Stuart, for joining us today and giving us such an insight into the university here at Reading.
Thanks very much, Jamie, for having me.